Hello, everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now in the podcast. Today is Sunday, May 18, 2025. I wanted to come here and do a quick update regarding the boat crash that happened yesterday in New York City. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to everybody who's following me on Spotify podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast so every time I make a new episode, you get a notification. And thank you so much, of course, everybody who's watching this video right now on YouTube. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I just wanted to say, I came last night and gave you the breaking news about that Mexican ship, I guess you can say, who was just crossing under the Brooklyn Bridge and crashed the top deck. It collided with the bridge, right? And we can see in the multiple videos that came out how it kind of, it crashed, and then there were things that were falling out, but I had no idea that on top of those decks, right, on that ship, I guess, I think there's a name for it, but there were actually people there performing, I guess, for the whole event that they were holding up in that ship, right? And it's just terrifying how your life can change at any moment. I'm very concerned about how come they didn't realize that the ship was too tall to go under the bridge. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, have you ever noticed when you're driving and you're let's just say you're driving next to a big truck and there's an overpass, right? And you're like, oh wow, I don't know if this truck is actually gonna make it, right? But I was, sometimes you feel that, and you're like, let me kind of stay away from that truck, 'cause I don't think he's gonna be able to go through the overpass, and he just makes it, right? It's so crazy to me how this happened, right? They were getting so close, and there was no like, wait a second, we're not gonna fit under the bridge, right? It makes you wonder, like, who is directing this, right? I know there's gonna launch an investigation about it. That was in the news today, but right now they already said there's 2 people who died there, right? And it's just so crazy. I've seen so many videos of people just taking photos of the ship, people who were recording inside the ship, right? And like I told you guys yesterday, it felt a little prophetic to me, because you see this Mexican representative ship, because everybody knows he's from Mexico, because he had, even without even knowing what that ship was, you can tell it was from Mexico because he had this giant Mexican flag, right? And it's crossing by the Brooklyn Bridge, and it just hits it on the top, right? And it's just crazy. And the other thing too, there were so many videos about it. You can see people just kind of posing to kind of take photos of it, because it also looked very beautiful. Like I told you yesterday, it looked kind of like a chandelier to me. And it was so unexpected that people were taking a photo 1 second. They're like, whoa, oh, wait a second, it's hitting the bridge. That's crazy, you guys. And then you see people running for their lives, screaming. And I had no idea that there were actually people on top of those decks. It's designed on that ship. That's crazy. And those were the 2 that died. I believe they were there. Let me just tell you exactly who they were. So we know by now that was a ship from the Mexican Navy. And it says here, Mexican Navy cadets America Jamilet Sanchez and Adal Jairo Marcos had been ID'd as a fatal victims in the Brooklyn Bridge crash. One of the young Navy cadets killed in the Brooklyn Bridge ship crash was ID'd Sunday as an award-winning swimmer who posed a beaming photo of herself in front of the boat hours before the tragedy. Okay, your life can change at any moment. I say this so many times. Be right with the Lord, meaning accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. your life can change at any moment. America Jamile, I believe she was just 21 years old. And then we have Adar Jair Marcos of Osaka was also killed in the collision. It says here that the two mariners were up on the mast of Mexico's 147-foot training ship Cuauhtémoc when it lost its steering ability and smashed into the bridge shortly before 8:30 p.m. So those things that I'm describing to you, they're called mast. The ship mast, and they were there performing. They were on top of those things performing. That ship is 147 foot. Okay, it's a training ship from Cuauhtémoc, and it lost its steering ability and it smashed into the bridge last night. So Sanchez, 20 years old, from Veracruz, and then we have, I believe his name is Marcos, was described as a beloved world traveler. 2 months ago, you gave me a shirt from the bark team you loved the most, and now you're no longer with us. A grieving friend wrote online, God bless you up there, and I hope I see you again and share lacquers with you again. So friends and family are sharing their messages for the loved one that were lost. I cannot imagine the fear that they felt, because when they, it's just so it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, when you're planning this trip to come to New York like that, in this type of vessel, I would think that whoever is behind the directing, right, the captain, all of that, they know, like, they gotta measure, like, they should, like, know the measurements, right? Is this ship gonna be fine going under the bridge? And I know they're doing investigation, like I said, but, like, how can this happen? Can you imagine the fear that these young cadets felt as they were getting closer and closer to the bridge? Maybe the bridge was being worked on, right? You could see there were, like, something under the bridge, and sometimes I see that when they're working, restoring something with the bridge, right? Maybe we know it's an old bridge, but maybe they were not aware that they were doing some type of restoration or something. Who knows, right? But I'm sure that information, to be in the U.S. waters, I'm sure you're gonna get information like that, especially when you gotta tell authorities what route you're gonna take and all of that. So somebody miscommunicated something here. That's my belief, because you don't see things like this happen often. If anything, I don't think I ever seen it. We see it more like in on the road, on highways. I used to live in a place where every other day you will see truck stops under the bypass of this bridge. For some reason, people, I don't know if it was a bad signage or something, you will always hear trucks getting stuck there. It will happen so often. It's crazy. So it says here, the ship was taking part in a training cruise to mark the bicentennial of the consolidation of the independence of the seas. Sanchez and Marcos were among the 277 crew members on board, 213 men and 64 women, who were mostly young naval cadets from Heroica Escuela Naval Militar, the Mexican Navy officer training academy based in Veracruz, fishing town of Anton Lizardo. Mexican Navy has promised to return their bodies to their loved ones as soon as possible. More than 20 people were also injured in the accident, with as many as 11 of them in critical condition. So it's just very sad, you guys. Let me see what people are saying here in the chat because I wonder if people have the same questions that I do. Because I mean, how does this happen? Like, I don't understand. Like I mentioned, like when you see a truck get stuck on the overpass, usually there's nobody riding on the roof of that truck, right? This was a ship that had people on top of the mast, right? How can they not calculate that? Why was not that communicated to them that the Brooklyn Bridge is going some type of work and it's gonna have some type of something put under it that's gonna make it, the distance is the measurement is gonna be off a little bit. Like how can it's just crazy. I'm trying to get to the chat so I can give you ideas of what people are thinking. Let me see. Somebody said these were good young people and did not deserve this tragedy. And then it says, even though it might look cool, they never should be standing on the mast ever. Accident or not, this is just tragic all around. I think they were standing on the mast because they were performing. It was a celebration, right? Well, a lot of sympathy, which is good. May these young sailors rest in peace, right? So a lot of sympathy. Sometimes people can get smart, especially the state that we're living in now and everything that's happening in the nation. That's what I mean. Terrible sad. May both of these young kids rest in eternal peace. How did they not drop anchor? Once they lost propulsion, that should have been number one on their list. I have questions, but this is one. Somebody said, well, the amount of time and distance just wasn't there. Additionally, I read elsewhere that the harbor bed is loaded with power cables. Dropping an anchor is not permitted. I'm sure people who are aware or have to manage a ship or drive a ship, they know what I'm referring to here. Somebody commented. So I guess they were so close to the bridge when they figured out, I guess, they were not going to pass over it without touching it or colliding with it, that they couldn't maneuver in time. And it says here, when I work at the New York Navy shipyard, somebody said, aircraft carrier coming into the shipyard for repairs had to stop in Bayonne, New Jersey to have their mast removed. Newer aircraft carrier had the mast able to tilt over the bridge clearance. It seems unbelievable that an incident like this could occur. I understand, guys, that anything can happen, but that's my point. You are in U.S. territory, coming with a ship from overseas. That I haven't seen a ship look like that for a long time. So some type of is here for some type of celebration training that they were preparing to. Why wasn't this communicated to them? Or was it communicated and they say, oh, you're going to have enough room. The clearance is going to be fine, no problem. Why did this happen? Like somebody didn't do their job. That's my opinion. So I'm trying to skip, there's always somebody with a smart comment. So I'm trying to skip over that. But like I said, the majority is a lot of sympathy, which is good. Oh, wow. Somebody pointed this out, which I didn't even realize. I think it's sad that her name was America. Maybe her parents really loved the US and she unfortunately ended up dying here. I'm telling you guys, there's something with this collision. I didn't even realize that one of the girls who died there, one of the young cadets, her name is America. Out of all the names that she could have, right? America in this ship with the Navy, the Mexican Navy, collides with the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. There's something with this, right? Putting aside everything that happened, when you look at all of that, you're like, wow, this is so like prophetic, Um, Somebody said, why are they standing on the mast other than to show that they can climb? Did it not occur to anybody that the masts were too tall to pass under? Apparently not. The only thing I'm absolutely sure is somehow this is but I'm not gonna read that. Somebody being smart there in the comments. But anyways, it's very sad that these two young people lost their life like that. My opinion, that ship was a very festive looking ship. Obviously something that you don't see every day, right? They were standing on the mast because they were doing some type of performance, right? I mean, that ship had a giant Mexican flag on it. It looked to me, it was so illuminated, the whole ship. It looked kind of like chandeliers, right? That's what I describe it as. And then they had people standing on the mast. So that's why they were standing there. They were performing there. These are trained Navy young kids that were like they had training already for this, right? Some information was amiss here, obviously, that this tragedy happened. But it's so crazy that, like somebody pointed out here, that her name is America, right? So let me know, guys, what you think about this. Let's pray for the family affected by this and everybody else who witnessed this tragedy over there in New York last night. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you to everybody who's listening to the podcast. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.